Okay, what I'm going to show you now is just a couple of things to make your program a little bit nicer, a bit prettier, really. So I'm going to take the last example. Let me just go to the comments. This multiple choice question. So I haven't modified the program. This is just as it was with the if-else ifs down here. So a few things you can do. I can set the color of the text using the console.foreground color command, and I can set it to be I don't know, dark blue. So by putting this command in, console.foreground color equals console color dark blue, and running it, you should see, oh dear, that's not so good. You can see the text changed color. I think what I need to do in order to be able to see that is to change the background color. Now I can change the background color in a similar way. Console.back. If I start typing back, here it comes, and I can set the background color to be something that's not going to make me feel too ill. Dark grey. So let's see what happens here. And you'll notice that only the text has had background color, which looks a bit weird. Now maybe that's what you'd like to do, and that's fine, you can do that. But if you want the whole background to go a different color, you need to put in between here the console.clear. Now console.clear is useful in it by itself, in that it will start a new screen, so it will blank everything off. So if I do this with the background color grey, it will make the background grey. I don't think I explained that very well. What I mean is, here I've set the background color to be grey, and then I've done the clear command. What that does is set the background to be the color I've chosen here. So that will set it to be grey. Here I then choose the foreground color. I don't need to do anything like console.clear, anything like that, not at all. It will just set the text. Now what I could do is make this a bit harder for some reason. I could put another console.clear here. And what this will do is it will display this. I'll do a console.read key. It will display this. When I press a key, it will clear it and then ask me what the answer is. If you see, I'm not saying this is particularly useful. It's displayed the question, press enter, it clears the screen, and then it says what is your answer. Sometimes you might want to clear the screen. Console.clear will clear the screen for you. But there's one way of getting a background color, by setting a background color and then the console.clear, and you can also set foreground colors. So in this case, it's not the most beautiful program, but there we have at least changed some of the colors. I could, as another example, go down here and just before I enter something, I could change foreground color. I know, red, that'll stand out. I'm going to change the color red for what I type in. So if I go back now, and what I type in is now in red. So there's a quick, simple way of changing the color of your text and of changing the background. So you can run these at any point in your program. You can put them in at any point in your program, and it will change the background. You might, for example, want to have a question, get the answer, and then clear the screen with a different color to display whether you got it right or not. That's up to you. You can be creative with that. Have a go. Another example of this, I've done a version of the guess the number question that we did earlier. So here I've got two variables, user guess, number to guess. I've set number to guess to be 3. I've set the background color. I've set the foreground color, and then I've cleared it, so it will set the background color. It will display a bit of information. The answer for the user is in a different color, is in yellow. I then say, is the number, have they guessed the right number? If it's right, their answer, well done, gets in magenta, and if it's wrong, it gets displayed in red. So if I just run that, so it's a little bit nicer than my last version. Their answer comes in, my answer comes in 2 in yellow. Bad luck, red. If I run it again, and I'll get it right because I know it's 3, it will come up as magenta. So you can make your programs beautiful now. The second thing I want to show you is how to create a random number. This is quite important and is useful in quite a few of our programming challenges. Rather than always have the program using the number 3, what I'd like to do is get the computer to generate its own random number. Now I can do this with a function called RND. RND will pick a number between 0 and I think 1, possibly 0.999. I'm not totally sure. It will generate a random number. If I multiply that by 4, that will get me a random number between 0 and 4. But what I really want is a number between 1 and 5, so I'm going to add 1 onto it. And I'm going to change it to an integer. I'll demonstrate this and then talk more about it. So what I've done here is generated a random number. So I run it. At this point I don't know what number it is. Oh, but I got it right. So let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. RND returns a random number. So this function generates a random number, but it generates a decimal number. So it comes back with a whole bunch of decimal points. Now in my example I don't want decimal points, I just want a whole number between 1 and 5. That's what we did in the previous example and a few videos back. So this will get me a number between 0 and 1. If I multiply that by 4, that will get me a number between 0 and 4, which is all well and good. So I've now got a number between 0 and 4. Again, this is decimal numbers, so this could be returning 2.347 or 3.999 or 0.5. So that's not particularly useful when I want whole numbers. So the cint will convert it into an integer. Basically it will knock off the decimal point. So now this will get me a whole number between 0 and 4. But what I really want is a number between 1 and 5. I could do this. That will get me a number between 0 and 5. That's not what I want, because that's 6 possible numbers: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. So that doesn't work. I want to get a number between 0 and 4, but I want to add 1 onto it. So if I get 0, it becomes 1. If I get 1, it becomes 2. If I get 4, it becomes 5. So that will get me an integer random number, and the last bit will get me it between 1 and 5. So this will get me a random number between 0 and 4. This will make sure it's an integer, so it will knock off the decimal points, and the plus 1 will make sure it's not between 0 and 4, but actually between 1 and 5. And that all then goes into this variable number to guess. So this will come up with a number between 1 and 5. So if I try again, I'll try 1. Bad luck. Wait for it to finish. Right. I'll try 3 because that's what I had last time. 3. Bad luck. Try again. And try 4, and well done. So there's a way to get random numbers. Now you might have noticed that either I'm very lucky, or every time I run this, 4 keeps coming up. If I run it again, if I wait for the computer, and then run it again, 4, I've got it right again. That's because the way that it generates numbers. It will generate the same sequence of random numbers every time you do this, unless you tell it to randomize. So when you're creating random numbers, you need to do the randomize command first. Randomize will force the computer to generate a new sequence of random numbers. So there is a sequence of random numbers. If you don't have that randomize, it won't be random numbers because it will be the same every time you run the program. If you type in randomize, it will be different. So now, if I run it, if I try 4, oh, it's still 4. Hang on, let's try again. 4 this time, bad luck. So now I really do have a random number. I don't know what it will be each time. So I can keep playing it. Still haven't got it. I should get it soon. You can now. I'm not very good at this game. You can have a go at this. So what this program is showing is how to change your colours. So a few examples of changing colours in there. You don't have a great selection of colours. With a bit of research you can probably find out how to get a wider range of colours, but I'm not going to show you. But also, very importantly, is how to get a random number. Remembering this number here is the number of numbers you want. I want 4, well, it's one less than what I want. I want 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So I'm having 5 random numbers, and I add 1. If I wanted random numbers between 1 and 10, I would times by 9 and add 1. If I wanted for 100, between 1 and 100, I'd do 99 plus 1. If I wanted a random number between 0 and 100, I would do that. That will get a random number between 0 and 100. If I wanted 1 and 100, I'd have to knock that down to a 99 and add 1 onto it. Okay, so have a go with that. At the moment you can display to the screen, you can get user input, you can create and store data in variables, you can use if statements, you can use else if structures, you can get random numbers. What this means at this stage, you should be able to go through and make some nice little programs, be creative, think of some ideas, and have a go. If you can't think of any ideas, ask someone. In college you can have a go at the Programming Challenges booklet, and have a go at some of those. Quite a few of those, the first 10 or so, are all you can do with what's here on the screen. So good luck.